Hello everyone, this is Zeeebo and welcome to this Brown Dust 2 video. So in this Brown Dust 2 video, we're going to run through the version 1.0 CN tier list for the global release of Brown Dust 2. So why do I call this the version 1.0? Because there was actually a previous iteration for this tier list before the actual release. And personally, I think the tier lists were, I'll say okay, there was some hit and misses, but some of the information inside that tier list were not accurate and some of the units were severely underrated in that. So if you have invested in some of the overrated units, you might actually regret like myself, but it's okay. So this tier list is highly accurate and honestly speaking, I'll call this the V1.0 because it's the most relevant to the current state of the game on the actual release itself. So that's why I'll call this the version 1 and I'll probably refer to this as version 1.1, 1.2 moving forward because there should be future iterations of this tier list from similar sources as well. Unfortunately, I do not have the original link to this tier list. Like I don't have the original posters link or the original website, so I couldn't credit the author. I apologize for that. But if you guys have the link to the original post, do let me down in the comment section down below. Let me know down there so that I can actually link up in the description to credit the author itself. So without further ado, let's just jump into the tier list itself. So as you guys can see, we'll start with T0 first. On the very first slot, we have a very friendly zombie skeleton known as Wiggle. So Wiggle is a T0 character. He is definitely one of the really powerful 3-star in the current state of the game. Okay, so I think a lot of the 3-star units were actually underrated. Some of the 3-star units were quite underrated in the previous one. But right here, they are pretty powerful. And I attribute that to how easy they are to actually max out for their costumes. So their power spike is much earlier compared to your 4-star or 5-star. Unless you are a massive whale that is able to spend a lot to get all the very rare costumes, right? 3-star characters are really pretty decent because based on this tier list, there's quite a few 3-stars even on the T1 setting itself. So there will be some 3-star bias here because at the current stage of the game, I think we are still very early. There are some 3-star characters that are super easy to max out. In fact, I have my dear Wiggle at +5 for both the costumes. So I'll show you guys over here. So Wiggle over here, I have +5 for both costumes. So just based off the damage numbers, right, he has some insane burst potential, and this is really attributed to the massive upscale in value once you get the +5 of his kit. So that's for Wiggle itself. Basically for Wiggle, he's a very easy to max out unit. He deals a lot of damage and he has a lot of hitbox. Like he has this T-shape that is able to hit a lot of targets. So he's really good for all your dungeon farming where there's a lot of minions and you can just bomb them with both his forms, but his explosion form. So the recommended reason for him is 妈的和你爆了. So it's a self-destruct. So the self-destruct does a shit ton of damage. So I'm going back to him again. Let me just go back to Wiggle. So the self-destruct is really massive. It's like 2100 physical damage or 500% of his attack. So pretty much I think there is only a few tank character that can actually stand this hit. So in most cases, right, Wiggle will be able to take out at least 1 or 2 units, right? In PvP, it's definitely at least 2 units in most cases. So this is really powerful. And even for his first form or the gangster form, it deals a bunch of damage as well, and it allows him to actually burn the target. So there's this additional deal physical damage based off his 155% attack every turn for 3 turns. So this is an additional burn over time. So it stacks up over time, but still it's quite a lot of damage, right? Just off this bomb skill itself. So overall, Wiggle is definitely T0. I really agree with this because he's a highly easy to max out unit and he just does damage so well. So that's why he's T0. Then we have our dear Alice. So this character, I don't think there's much to talk about her. I personally use her myself. So let me find her. So we have Alice over here. Yeah, she's one of my main character. So number 1, like I mentioned, 3-star characters, they are really easy to max out. And for Alice herself, right, her massive damage boost is just insane, right, for both PvE contents and PvP. More so for PvE because in PvE, the turns will usually last a little bit longer, so the buff that she can offer for the team will be able to stick around longer because for PvP, usually the battle ends in like 2 or 3 turns. So you kind of want to use your SP to do maximal damage. in the shortest time possible. So she might not be the best there, but she's still going to be super amazing. 70% attack buff and a 30% crit rate buff, which basically makes any physical attacker like way better. Even mage attackers can do really well with the crit rate increase. So that's why our dear Priest of Vitality Alice or Aerins is one of the T0 units. So these two are amazing 3 stars and they're super easy to max out. So if you have them, do train them up. And the next T0 unit is Ro. So this character was sort of in the T1 or T0.5 range in the previous tier list. But right here, I think this character, I don't have her in my personal hero pool, but I have experience playing against her in the PvP setting. So this unit, let's go to the costumes itself. She's really insane in a sense. She does a lot of pushing. So pushing in the game itself, right, it's really crazy. Let me go into collection. So we have the costumes. So for Ro, right, her main purpose in the PvE setting is to be a pusher for the first turn and then surviving and deal damage from there. So if we go into this form, the base form, the one that you can actually exchange from the story itself, we have Ro. So this allows her to evade enemy attack with a 75% chance for 2 turns. So this aids her in surviving better. By the way, she's more of a damage dealer. So evade chance decreases 5% after each evasion, deals 1 physical damage and knock back the target 3 squares to the backside. So the knockback target deals 100% of their max HP to the impacted target with physical damage and deal 18 physical damage based off 50% attack every turn for 6 turns. So the last part is pretty minor damage, but the most important part to her is her massive evasion chance, as well as the ability to knock back any tank 3 squares behind. So what happens is, usually in PvP, your enemy will have at least 1 tank in front of their carry to protect their carry. But this way, Ro is amazing because Ro will actually push that unit all the way back and your tank will always have way more HP than your carry, and that's why it's a insta-kill. And she's amazing there. And not only that, like in PvE settings, usually you have some massive HP frontliners that are very difficult to deal with. So you can use Ro to push them back and then deal damage to the backline. So that's why she's really powerful just off this skin itself. And for her second skin, it's not as powerful, but this one also deals damage based off the HP of the enemy. So same thing, this unit is amazing against tanks. So she's a super good anti-tank unit. She's also really good for repositioning if you have some like massive combo, like if you want to push your unit into a T shape so that our dear Wiggle can use his AoE damage to the maximum ability. Ro is amazing, and that's why I think she's definitely worthy of the T0 position. So the last T0 character is none other than Justina. So this Justina is definitely one of the easier to max out 5-star due to her banner up, and there's an event going for her. So you get 2 of her costumes for free, and then you get the candle one from the banner. And overall, she has multiple costumes that deals decent damage, decent coverage from different angles, right? You have a V shape, you have a straight line, you have a straight line, like a head attack. So she can deal with a lot of situations very, very well. And that's why I think she's definitely worthy of this T0 position. And right now, because there's a light damage buff, so these characters in the light spectrum, they are a little bit stronger, right, based on the current setting. But in the future, if the buff changes to other elements, then she might fall off a bit in terms of the damage dealing compartment. But on the fact that she's really easy to max out for 5-star, and on the fact that she's very flexible in terms of the attacking pattern, it makes her a really worthy T0 character. So moving forward, we have the T0.5. So the first character that I want to talk about is this witch girl over here, so Shame. So this character was actually T0 previously. I do think that this character is still T0 worthy, so we'll go to this character in the collection. I do have her in my my account as well, but I didn't use her because I'm using a physical team. So let me go into the characters page. So I do have a Shame over here. Yeah, we have a Shame. So for Shame itself, I think both her form are really good. Like, one is a magical damage dealer with magic resist down, which is amazing for mage teams, obviously, right? With the likes of Shazra, with the likes of other mage attacker like Maria and stuff. And her second form or her second costume is basically a buff and a HP heal over time. So it's really good for flexibility, versatility purposes. Like, she can slot into physical teams and magical teams, and she can also heal, so she acts like a 3-role unit over there. But I think the main issue with her is like the values are not really very high. So that's why if you want to min-max your stuff, you want better heal numbers, you go for like healers like Julia instead. If you want better buff numbers, obviously we have our dear Erin, which is the light priest that we talked about just now. So that's why her rating here is slightly lower. But I still do think that she's a very T0 character, because 20% buff for both spectrums and a heal on top of that is just really helpful for a lot of situations, both PvE and PvP. So T0.5 is okay, slightly weaker than the above list, but I think she is debatable. I think she is a T0 worthy character, although she's T0.5 here. The next one we have Olston, right? Oleston. So I can't, pardon me if I mispronounce his name. So I don't have him in my collection, but let's go through his costume. So this character, personally, I don't have a lot of experience using him, but I did saw a few people use him against me in PvE settings, and I think this unit is definitely amazing for PvP. So I'm sorry, let's rewind, right? This unit, I see him more in PvP settings. So because this unit allows you to gain SP for each attack target, and if you look at his attack wave, right, it's a very big AoE. So like if you hit like 3 targets, you get 3 SP, and it also allows you to decrease the SP of the enemy for each attacking target. So it's a very good go first unit in PvP setting, and allows you to do 2 magic damage based off 10% of his magic attack. So personally, I think he is somewhere between T0.5 to T1. I wouldn't say that he's really amazing as an all-rounder, more so for PvP, because the mana control ability is just crazy. Like based on the comment, right? 换来了 AoE 群吸 SP 加封印技能. So basically you suck the SP of the enemy, right? You gain more SP, and then you have a really good supportive character in your team, which gives you the advantage, because if you're going first, you decrease the SP, your opponent can't really use that much skill, so your team can survive better off that, and then you will be able to recharge your skills faster, go into the second turn with more units, and then you will be able to bring your enemies down for PvP. So like this character is like Olsen is definitely more so from the PvP character's perspective. I think PvE is not that good. Like maybe as a mana charger still T0.5 is okay, but I'll really actually put him like somewhere in T0.5 to T1, because the decreased SP is probably the stronger part of his kit, because he uses 5 SP to get some SP back. But when you use it in PvP, right, you don't have that much SP to start with, so like the manipulation can only kick in after you have enough SP. So that's one thing which I think he might not be the strongest, and he might not be that worthy of the 0.5, probably T1, somewhere around that range. But still, I do admit that he's a strong unit to begin with. So next one we have Sai. So this character, I don't own her as well. Let me check. I think I do own her personally. I have quite a few costumes which I don't use, right? But okay, let's go to 5-star. So this is a demon girl. Yeah, I don't think I own her, so I don't see her a lot as well. Kind of don't understand why she's T0.5 though. Let me, yeah, Saya over here. So personally, I think if you look at her heal numbers as well as her ability to be a tanker, I think she's definitely powerful. Like 35% damage decrease, right, is really big as a tanker, and on top of that she has a heal. But the thing is, I think if you are talking about her as a tanker, I think like the other tank is a lot better, right? The other tank that we can get from the story mode, I can't really remember her English name. So the character is give me a moment. Olston, Robia, Sylvia, Eclipse, Letra, Cecile. Yes, Lessis. So if you talk about like being a tank, I think Lessis is probably I'll say like the better tank in the front line, because a tank that only takes damage is only going to do so much if your opponent knows how to position against you. And due to like positional issues, if let's say the tank is the last unit left, then like a tank with no counter basically has no way to retaliate. And personally, 35% damage reduction is amazing, don't get me wrong. Like I do agree that she's a T0.5 character, because based on the description, 技能开起来特别能扛，没什么好说的，就是很能扛。So this means that she's a very, very powerful tanker, like because she reduced 35% damage and she has a heal. So if you hit her, you can't heal her, then she's gonna heal up again, so on and so forth, and it's gonna just repeat herself. But I think the issue with her is number one, the lack of costume. So she only has one costume. So you use a heal and then the next few turn you're using normal attack. And secondly, I think like her as a tanker is good, but she can be played around. Like I think like Lasis is a lot better as a tanker personally for me because she has a counter and she has a shield generating ability, and on top of that she also has 2 forms, so you have more flexibility in terms of usage. Although having 2 5-star costume is gonna be a little costly, but personally I think Lasis is definitely the better tanker. So I also see that Lasis is on the T0.5 list. So 人偶的耐子是可以变大的，无限时连抽，不想抽艾瑞克可以找他。So okay, so this one was from the previous comment. So this unit is Lasis is definitely still one of the best tanker in the game. Definitely recommended for infinite resource. Okay, so talking about her, right, I actually wanted to go for her in the infinite resource, but I actually went for Alex with his exclusive weapon, which kind of was a massive disappointment for me. Like Alex was just, I don't know, like he just felt kind of disappointing, probably due to the lack of costume. So I have Alex over here. Like I think for Alex itself, right, the issue with Alex, so I'm going to talk about this guy first, like before I continue the other T0.5. So for Alex, right, he's all the way down to T2. So personally, I think the reason why he's T2 is because I think his numbers got nerfed slightly. Like his numbers got nerfed slightly. Like he doesn't hit as hard as he used to, and his attack pattern is just way too linear. You only have 1, and then you have the other costume, which I think it's okay, but like this pattern is so weak. Like this like diagonal is so specific that it's not that good. Although he attacks 3 times, so definitely benefits from the crit rate, but if you look at the numbers, dude, it's so pathetic. So that's why nobody uses him right now. So I kind of regret going for him, because at first I thought, wow, the damage is gonna be massive, right? Like him and his weapon is gonna be massive, but after I go for him in my infinite reroll, he turns out to be really disappointing. So yeah, definitely I would say that T2, like probably T1.5, he might need more resources to actually get his damage to a really good level, because 5-star characters, they are way more expensive. So like as you guys can see, I only got upgrade 0, so maybe he will exceed my expectation at +5, so on and so forth, but we shall wait and see whether or not his position changed in the future. But still kind of disappointed, because I honestly thought he'll be very broken, but nah, he's really damn bad. Okay, so moving forward, let's continue with the other T0.5. So we go into the Sylvia one. So this is the tanker. So Sylvia is also an amazing 5-star character, right? So just now we have the Sayer, which is a damage reduction tank with heal. For Sylvia is also a unit with damage reduction 50%, and on top of that, being able to counter your enemy. So in my honest opinion, I think if you want to play the tank game in PvP, I do think a tank with counter is better there. And if you are talking about PvE setting where you can actually change the formation consistently every turn, then maybe Sire is better. So based on how you look at it, I do think that both the tanks have their strengths and niches, but Sylvia will be preferred for me because she's more offensive. I think a tank should not just take damage, should be able to do some form of damage back or abuse your positioning so your enemies can't just remove your carry. So that's why Sylvia is definitely a little bit better in my honest take. Then next we have Kyle. So yeah, Kyle is my personal favorite. So I have him as one of my main unit. So I'm not going to go into my collection. We're just going to go with this one. So I have both his costume nearly maxed out over here. So if we go into Kaya, right, the student costume, the gangster violent student costume, is probably the better of the 2, because the same thing applies from the Rose knockback, because he's able to reposition the target. So being able to push like up to 2 units, right, being able to push them back is really good against tank. So it's a very good anti-tank mechanics, and on top of that, he uses 2 SP to use the skill and he gets 3 SP back. So you're always getting a net positive in your SP, and that's why this unit is amazing in the front line. And his second form is also a really good damage source because it deals a cross shape, so it can attack up to 5 targets 2 times, so benefits from the crit rate buff, and the massive defense decrease makes him a good maybe like go second or go first unit, so that your physical carry at the back can deal even more damage. So yeah, and because it attack 2 times, right, when the first hit hits, you actually decrease the defense, so the second hit from this unit itself is gonna hit a lot harder because of the defense decrease. So that's why this unit is definitely T0.5. I think to a certain extent I will be a little bit biased because I use him a lot. T0 also is a good position for him, but maybe slightly lower compared to Ro. So Ro's 3 square push is just way better in terms of repositioning and being an anti-tank, but Kyle has a lot of flexibility because she's able to push up to 2 units. So that's why definitely a good T0.5. The next one, we have our dear Andrew. So for Andrew itself, I think Andrew is also like a surprisingly good unit in my pool, so I've been using this character. So if you have him all the way at +5, right, this unit has give me a moment, I have him at +5. So if you go into Andrew +5, give me a moment, where's my Andrew at +5? So if you go into him at +5, this character has a 65% chance to evade any attack. So what that means is nearly every 2 attack you will get 1 evasion off. And the thing is, it taunts the enemy to attack him. So it's very useful for PvP setting. And in certain PvE setting where you're able to manipulate the skills itself to force the enemy to attack him, he's gonna be a really good tanker. Like, I think for this game itself, I personally prefer tankers that can fight back. So tanks with counter and tanks with the ability to taunt the enemies, because the attackers in this game, they do a lot of damage, but they are very frail, so you want to survive like you want to survive with them, you want to put them back in a safe position. And Andrew with the taunt ability is definitely something that's super worthy to invest in the long run. So this taunt ability really good. Then for the vampire ability, same thing, right? He can taunt, take some damage, and if he doesn't die, he switches to the vampire. He's gonna steal some HP, do some damage at the same time, and then decrease some SP on the enemies on the other end. So yeah, this character is a really good sort of tank, a utility unit in a team. Personally using him, and I find that he's amazing as well. So definitely worthy of the T0.5 position. So the next 3 units, I don't really use them, but I'm just gonna refer to them based on what was mentioned in the tier list itself. So we have Helena. So Helena based on the recommended reasons. So 偶像可以降低全队受到的伤害. Okay, let's go into the unit abilities. Let me go into the costume. I don't have her, so it's very unfair for me to talk about a unit which I don't use. So I'm just going to refer to her abilities. So if we go into Helena's ability over here, let me scroll down, and we have here. Yeah, so if you look at her ability decreases incoming damage for all allies for 4 turns, and this allows you to get SP. So if you have her at +5, it's probably gonna decrease the SP usage and increase the SP acquirement, which makes her an excellent battery, as well as sort of like a protector for the team. So if you run her, all your damage are going to take less damage, all your units are going to take less damage. So if you stack with the tank, right, the tank is going to tank better. If you put it on top of your like damage dealer, they might survive an additional turn from the damage reduction. So personally, yeah, I do agree that she's definitely a very worthy 5-star in the T0.5 slot, because I think damage reduction is just bonkers. Like, I think she's probably going to get up to 4, because this is +0, right? All these abilities are at +0. So I think she's probably going to get like decreased incoming damage by up to 40%, right? When she's at the higher stage. So if you have a 40% damage reduction, that's pretty much you're halving the damage for everyone. So allows your whole team to survive better, and it's for 4 turns. So it's going to make your whole team beefy. And if your enemies have no way to kill you fast, they're gonna die because your unit is gonna counter attack and then bring them down. So this character is definitely pretty bonkers in my honest take. So next one, we have Gray. So okay, Gray, I'll say Gray is a unit which was severely underrated in the previous tier list. Like, after I saw him in the game itself, after I saw his description, I really think he's a like freaking broken unit. Okay, first of all, this unit attacks 3 times. Each attack deals physical damage based off 35% of attack, and deals physical damage based off targets 125% of attack every turn for 4 turns. Okay, so because he's an archer, right, that shoots at the back line, right? This deal physical damage based off target's attack, right? Actually hits really hard. Like, he is a very powerful backliner, so a lot of the warrior unit likes to stick in the backline. Even some of the archer units like to stick in the backline. So this character is basically an anti-carry unit, and like is both good in the PvE and PvP setting, because most of the time you have the very beefy unit in the front line, and then all the paper carry like glass cannons are all in the back line. So Gray solves that issue very well with just his base form. And if you take a look at his costume, right, this costume attacks 5 times, and each attack deals physical damage of 80% of attack, and deals physical damage based off the target's 105% of magical attack. So he's good against both the physical teams as well as the magical team. So he's an anti-carry unit, and because he attacks multiple times, so previously it was 3 times for the physical side, for the magical side is 5 times. He benefits really well from crit rate, and even if you don't have a super high crit rate on him, you pair him out with Erin and then you give him a bunch of crit damage, he's gonna hit really hard from there. So just based off the decision, I honestly think he was underrated. He's definitely one of the underrated one in the previous tier list. In fact, I do think that he might be worthy of the T0 position moving forward, because if you get more and more powerful frontliners, we need to have units that's able to effectively deal with the backline. And then this further increases the value of the taunters like Andrew, because these units targets the backline. So you want to force attackers like Gray to attack into your Andrew, because elemental counter, right? So that's why I say taunting is amazing, because you have units that attacks the backline, and Andrew is definitely good in that to sort of redirect damage to himself. And Gray is definitely crazy in terms of like being an anti-carry. So yeah, T0.5 worthy. So the next one we have Lafina. So same thing, I don't have Lafina in my pool. I can't really explain why she's really good, but let's just talk about her based on the description over here. So give me a moment. Let me find the costume for her. Lafina. Did it hit? Nope. Give me a moment. Rafina is over here. Okay, so for the description from the tier list creator itself, so this character has high physical AoE damage and can remove target's shield, decrease target's defense, and then allows her double attack percentage to be farmed easily. Okay, so her role is damage and anti-tank as well. So yeah, definitely definitely shows the case based on her skills. So if you look at her skills itself, deals physical damage, removes barrier effect on target. So tanks which generate barrier is gonna be way less effective against her. So she counters our dear the seas very well. Like, although she's not the correct element for it, she's water, she's wind. So but I wait. Yeah, she's countered by her in terms of the element, but she's good against her because she generates shield to be very tanky, and she removes the shield from her. So yeah, this unit is good to counter her and probably other tanks that has the ability to generate shield. So if you're fighting against her, a tank with damage reduction is definitely better. And if you look at her second costume, which is the codename A1, so this one has a very high attack frequency and has a defense decrease and a very big hitbox. So yeah, I can see why she's good. I used her in the Beauty Impossible, and I do think that she has potential, but I feel that her positioning right now is a little bit awkward, because as you guys can see from the various tanks described above, right? So if you take a look at the tank list, so we just take a look at the T0.5 tanks, okay? So we have Andrew. So Andrew doesn't generate shield, right? We have Lessis, which generates shield, so she sort of do very well against her. Then we have Sire. Sire doesn't have any shield generating purpose. And we have our dear Helena, which makes your whole team tankier by providing damage reduction. And even for our dear Sylvia, Sylvia doesn't have a shielding there. So her role as an anti-tank sounds really good on paper, right? Being able to remove the barrier. But right now, I'll say it's quite niche. So I will actually sort of group her lower if she's on my personal tier list, maybe T1, but not T0.5, because she's good against tanks that generate shield, but that position right now is very niche because you only have like a few good units that generate shield and good tank units that people will use. So she is not as good as it is stated over here. So that's my opinion about her. Then moving forward, let's go into the T1 portion. Okay, so I actually got too excited for the recording that I think the previous part was super long. So for this part, for the T1 and the T1.5 and below units, I'm not going to talk too in-depth about them. I'm just going to briefly skim through them and then talk a little bit more if I have any personal knowledge about them. So first one, we have Maria. So Maria is definitely a crazy good 3-star character right now because she's light, so bonus damage. She can build up to plus 500% attack from one of her costume if you have her at plus 5 over here. Very low SP cost of 1, so very flexible in terms of team building. And she has a reposition ability that deals 125% of the max HP to the target based on the target being pushed. So very good for 2 tanks on the front line. You kick 1 tank to the other side and then this will definitely kill the other tank because 125% of the tank's HP to the other tank itself. Then you also has the SP regeneration, so very good for cycling of your skills. That's why definitely worthy of this position right now. Then we have our dear Jaden. So Jaden, same thing as you guys can see, light, so light receives bonus damage. So Jaden at this point is an amazing aerial attacker, a T-shaped aerial attacker, and she's able to have magic resist up as well as heal, making him a good tanker as well. So Lethal personally, you need 4 of his costume to be really good because this character has multiple costumes doing different things, and he can be a tank, he can be a damage dealer, which makes him a very flexible character. But if you only have his base form, I think his rating will be slightly lower. But if you have 4 of his costume to provide the flexibility as well as the damage output, this character is definitely worthy of the T1 position. So Cecile is a very good mage aerial attacker, 9 box, being able to decrease attack. So really helpful for PvE settings and even PvP moving forward, because as the stats become bigger, right, as the levels of all our units go higher, the attack decrease is going to make a huge difference over the longer course of time. So next one, we have Rubia, which is a sister of Sylvia. So this character can be used in the story chapter 5. Personally, nothing much to talk about her. She's just a really good damage dealer. So yep, not gonna spend too much time. Then for Antonasia, I have her personally. So this character over here, right? So this character over here, I think the biggest part to her damage is her crit damage boost, right, up to 200% if you have her at plus 5, and she has a very high attack count. So if you pair up with the likes of Erin, which buffs up her crit damage and as well as her crit range because of the attack boost as well as the crit rate boost, as you guys can see, she has a 10% crit rate. So with Erin, it's 40% crit rate, and then she has like 250% crit damage, right, to a T shape. She's gonna hit like a truck. But the issue is her SP cost, so it's very hard for you to combo her with multiple units, making her a very powerful unit but very hard to slot into multiple teams because your teams might be one that abuses your SP as much as possible, so she might not be really good there, and that's why I think she might be a little lower if you want to sort of go into the super niche details in terms of the game itself. Then next one, we have our dear Lasria. So I don't have her, I'm just going to use the description in game to talk about her. So based on this tier list, a very good damage dealer, right, has the 9 box attacking mechanics, very high attack frequency, which benefits from crit rate really well. So I think any unit with the 9 box attack pattern, right, is going to be a good damage dealer as well as a good dungeon farmer because you kill all the units really quickly, allowing you to speed up your farming process, saves more time, and is really good in terms of that perspective. So yep, that's for her a T1 position. Then we have our dear Eclipse. Okay, Eclipse is a bit awkward because personally I don't think Eclipse is that strong. Like, I think she's hot, don't get me wrong, I think Eclipse is really hot, but Eclipse is a unit that has heal, right, attacks 3 times and deal damage. So she also has this decreased SP every turn. Like, she's a mix of a defensive unit as well as an offensive unit, which I think doesn't really go really well in terms of your normal game logic, and that's why I question whether or not she's actually T1, because moving forward, when your damage scaling is so low and your heal is not even that strong, will she actually stay in this position? So that's my thought about her. Then we have one of the other succubus. So this character is one which I have in my list, so I have her maxed out, Lucrezia. So this character allows you to silence your enemy. I'll say more so in the PvP setting. If your enemy is very skill reliant, if your enemy is going second and you're going first, right, which is most of the time the case if you're the attacker. Then you can use her to seal off the skill for as many units as possible in specific scenarios, and then your enemies can't use their skill even if they have the skill point. So in terms of that, she's definitely good, but then again, I think she's also very niche in my honest take. So I don't know whether or not she's really worthy of this position. So I'm not going to talk too much about her. Let's move on to the other unit. So we have Elise, then we have our dear Layla. So for Layla, the X-shaped pattern of her attack damage, right, is definitely powerful and also allows you to regenerate SP based on each target you hit. So I actually have her. Let's go through her skill over here. Where is it? Layla. Yeah, so she has this X shape which attack 2 times, so acquires 1 SP for each attack target. So if you hit like 3 targets, you basically regenerate all your energy because she attacks 2 times. Wait, does it work that way? Or because when you actually wait, I do have her at +5. Let me go into a +5 skill. So if you go into her +4, oh, I have her at +4 or +3, so sorry. So if you go into +3, her SP cost is as 5, and I think if you go to +5, her SP cost will go to 4. So if you're able to hit like 4 targets, you basically use this skill for free because next turn you will have the SP back. And on top of that, the attack hitbox is very big, which is very good, but X-shape is, I'll say, kind of questionable and easy to counter, right? So I also question her T1 slot, but her being the light element right now definitely allows her to do more damage. So after the light element buff, I think she might fall off a little bit because I think a lot of these units, you guys can see, right, like there is literally no light unit in the lower tier because right now we have the light attack buff, so most light units are gonna do decent, but Layla is probably gonna fall off based on what I observed just off her kit itself. Then for Elise, right, okay, so Elise, for her recommended reasons, is a physical damage dealer and has magical damage decrease. Okay, so it's a freaking awkward unit. Like see, it's so weird. Like this character, right, when I first got her, like why would a physical damage dealer be decreasing magical damage? Then I thought maybe if you're running a hybrid team, she's okay. So for those of you guys who are like, why is this guy talking about? So this is the costume that she's given T1 for. Like she deals physical damage and she decreased magic resist. So I honestly don't think she's even worthy of that T1 position. And for her sniping, dude, you have way better damage dealers out there. So like I honestly don't think she's worthy of this position. She's definitely a little bit lower, but then again, we shall see in the future. If she gets a fire element buff, her damage output could be a little higher. Then the free unit over here, this 3-star, right, our dear, what's her name? I don't remember because I stopped using her very early. So our dear Ingrid, I think. Is her name Ingrid? No, Beatrice, yes. Like, Beatrice is just a very simple 1-box attacker that deals true physical damage. So, I'm very straightforward, but I think she'll definitely fall off really quickly. So, yeah, I'm not going to talk too much about her. Then for T1.5, okay, so Carlson, okay, this unit, I think he's super underrated. Because he's very easy to get the +5. So at his +5, right, okay, so I have it at +5. I'm just gonna go into my pool to show you guys, and I see a lot of him in the top ranks because a lot of people have him at +5. If you spend in the game, or if you're super lucky, you get him at +5, you get a 2 SP 65% physical damage decrease, and it's nearly permanent. So if you put him in the Frank line in a good position, he's actually a pretty decent tank compared to like a lot of the 5-star, because he's a way cheaper alternative, like compared to like our dear like Zeeebo over here, which also is good because she has damage reduction, but a lot more expensive because you need to get her to like +3 at least for decent SP charging. So that's one thing that Carlson definitely is way better. So this unit maybe somewhere T1 to T1.5 range, but definitely worth of the position. Then this mage girl that we have, okay, so I have to sort of rebuttal this character's positioning because personally I've seen Wales use her in the higher ranks, and the way she hits the C shape, the code C mode, right? So we go into the collection. Let me just go there. I'm so sorry because I don't have her, but I've seen other people use her. So I'm gonna use like my observation of her from other characters to actually talk about her. So if you talk about her 3 forms, she has 3 forms. This super sexy code S has this very awkward like C-shape positioning, but this positioning is actually really good in PvP setting because a lot of the formation usually deviates into this sort of C-shape pattern to dodge out a lot of the different attack patterns in the pool right now. So like the ability to remove any buff from the enemy is also amazing because Erin is just so common. So common, like this buff removal basically like removes like certain like shielding, right? Removes certain defense buff on some of the PvE bosses that are really difficult to deal with. So I do think that she is a little bit better than what is stated in the tier list, because I've seen her at higher power levels. And then this Aqua Break ability is also really good in terms of dealing damage because it attacks 3 times and removes buff effect as well. So on the first hit, you already remove their buff effect, so your subsequent 2 attacks is going to hit really hard from there. So that's something that you guys need to know. The attacks ability is applied on the very first hit. So let's say this unit has multiple hit, right? Then the subsequent attacks is going to do harder if your enemy have some damage reduction or defense shit going on. So yeah, I think her name is really hard to pronounce. I just call her the witch. Like, she's definitely a little bit underrated in this list, so I'm gonna keep my opinions of her here. Like, let's respect this tier list. So next one, we have our dear Thief over here. So Bernie, right? I don't know. I think Bernie is an okay damage dealer with some SP recovery. But yeah, like if we go into her skill set, so she used 4 SP to get 2 SP back for each target you hit. So you attack 2 times. So this one allows you to sort of get some damage going, but the issue with her is that she only has 1 costume. So like and she has a very long cooldown. So if you're using her, you use your Drain Dagger, and then the next thing you know, she'll be using her normal attack for the next few turns. So not really good in the PvP side. For PvE, maybe against the bosses based on the description, but I honestly think she's maybe a little lower, right? So next one, our dear 3-star Arrow Girl. Not gonna talk too much about her. Good to max out, but her damage potential is just lacking. Then we have our dear beginner like sort of pusher as well. What's his name? Let me just double confirm, because yeah, these units are the units which I don't use. We have, is it Ingrid? No, not Ingrid. We have I think his name is it? No, is it? No, not Lydia. His name is, give me a moment. Fred. Yeah, Fred over here. Like Fred is a decent pusher. But the issue with Fred is, even if he pushes a target, it only deals 25% of their max HP, so you're not gonna insta-kill anyone. The SP regenerating is really cool, but other than that, he basically don't do much. And that's why, yeah, this unit, I think he's definitely like a T2 material, man, honestly speaking. So yeah, like a bit overrated in this tier list. Then Raymond is definitely good. So for Raymond's case, if you go into Raymond allows you to attack 2 times, so benefits from crit rate a lot better, and also decreased attack, and the decreased attack is 50%, so the value is very high and it sticks around for a long time. So he might be very, very powerful in certain scenarios against bosses, and if positioned well, could be good in certain PvP setting. But then again, like the damage amount coming out from him is not very high, so kind of like a dilemma whether or not for him to be a debuffer or damage dealer. But yeah, definitely a T1.5 material if you just grade him based on what he is and how easy he is to max out. Then the Arrow guy, not gonna talk too much about him. So yeah, then we have our healer girl over here, Lislet. So pretty much an insta heal. Oh yeah, Lisana, sorry. Lizene. Okay, so this is an insta heal character. The heal number is not as good as Julia. Okay, so one thing about this tier list is, I think this tier list is heavily biased against those pure healer. So personally, I run a Julia myself. Okay, so I honestly think a healer is amazing. I'm gonna make another video to talk about it, but this character offers so much heal with a really cheap SP cost that I think she deserves a higher positioning. Now if you look at this heal, it's 55% of magical attack for 6 turns. So if you survive multiple turns, like off small damage, maybe not so good in PvP, but in PvE, definitely amazing and very good for saving your energy, because you don't need to revive your unit, you don't need to spend money to sleep to recover HP. So I will say Julia is a little bit better, maybe T1 worthy, but the other Lysiane is not as good because insta heal, but the value is not very high. Then I haven't seen this 5-star cat girl before. In fact, I don't see people using her. So I don't know much about her. Let's just look at her skill set itself. So if we go into her skill set, I think her name, I saw it somewhere. Is it this one? Yeah, it's over here. Angel of Destruction Therese. Acquires SP, deals physical damage, knockback. Okay, so the issue with her is very similar to the previous 3-star unit, right? They do push, but the purpose of a push is to reposition and to deal with tanks or kill the carry in the back line. So she pushes the enemy back. She has a good SP regeneration, but Kao is just better because Kao regenerates the same amount of SP and Kao deals 100% of the max HP of the targets being pushed. So your tanks with massive HP is pretty much going to insta-kill anyone. But for this one, like 50%, maybe 75%, so on and so forth, maybe she will hit 100%. But because she's a 5-star, it's a lot more expensive to max her out. So that's why I kind of think that, you know, because of the cost to raise her, as well as the availability of other units to do better effects, I think she's not that good. So yeah, maybe power level wise T1.5, but in terms of her role, I think she's definitely even lower because you have Kao on top and you have Aldia role on top as well. So yeah, that's my rating for her. And the last 5-star over here, okay, I don't see people using her as well. So this one is our dear Elenia. Attacks 3 times, each attack deals physical damage and removes buff effect. So sort of like a utility damage dealer. I think this sort of damage dealer has very like niche roles where they might not be good right now, but in the future she might be better. But then again, based on what it is, honestly speaking, I think she's even a T2 character because her damage numbers are not that high, 55%, although she attacks 3 times, but this number is really low for a 5-star character. So yeah, that's why she's down there. Then the last 5 characters, honestly speaking, I don't think there's much to talk about them. Okay, Maria I think is severely underrated because I've seen her blowing through my lineup with her very long range attack. So I have all these characters at +5 and I can show you guys their ability. So Alex, I already talked about him. I'm not going to talk about him anymore. Let's go into my collection. So if we go into the 3-star, let me arrange the thing. So we arrange by star rank. So if you go to all the 3-stars, so for Maria's case, Maria's ability is like a really high magic attack, which allows you to hit 3 blocks. So this 3 block straight line is actually surprisingly good in PvP setting because there is quite a lot of straight line lineup in the defensive comp, and on top of that, the magic damage from the +5 ability is also pretty optimal, making her a good early game unit in terms of magical damage. So I do think that this rating for her is kind of unfair because if you rate all the other 3-stars based on what they are at +5 or based on their full power capacity, then Maria is definitely a little higher. So that's for Maria. Then our other 3-star unit, I do agree, the other 3-star unit is not that powerful. I don't use them, so we're just gonna run through their abilities each. So we go into our dear Lydia first. So Lydia is also a straight line attacker, but only 2 blocks, although her damage numbers are a lot higher. But I think if you look at the tier list itself, there's a bunch of really amazing 5-star physical attacker and even 3-star, 4-star physical attacker out there that sort of outshines her. So that's why she's kind of low in the tier list rating, because compared to other characters, she appears to be very pale in comparison. So last one, or the second last one, we have Cardis. So Cardis, same thing, damage dealer, 2 blocks, right? Although he's able to hit multiple times, but there are just a bunch of amazing physical attackers out there, like Wiggle, for example. So kind of outshines her in terms of the number. If you take a look at Wiggle, right? So we go to Wiggle, like Wiggle's number just basically threw both of these characters away, like 155%, right? And like attacks 3 times. Then you go into the self-destruction one, 500%, massive physical damage. Like that's why these 3-stars at the bottom, they are there because their scaling is not as good as compared to the amazing 3-stars up there. And right now they don't have the elemental buff, so they don't hit that hard, and that's why they're there. Then for Alex, I mentioned it, he only has like freaking 2 costumes, and both costumes have very sort of awkward positioning. So we shall see whether or not in the future he will get better. So yeah, that's pretty much it for this tier list. I think the tier list was really long. I apologize for that, but I think I was pretty in-depth in terms of explaining why each of the units are there in the various positions. So if you like this sort of video and you follow me throughout the whole video, do remember to like and subscribe in order to see more videos from Brown Dust on this channel, and I'll see you guys again in my next video. Bye guys!